anything Jordan Addison do in that game surprise you, or did his practices kind of indicate he was due for a breakout?
Nothing he's done has really surprised me at this point. Just from when he first came in, he's been a pro. He's got talent. He works at it. He transitions as well as anybody at the top of his routes, and has great ball skills. And he loves ball, wants to be great. So nothing really surprised me with that.
Wes, Kirk was talking about yesterday the throw to Addison kind of being off from where he wanted it. He was sort of hard on himself about it. The result looked fine to me, but I guess how do you balance that with discussions with Kirk of like process, results, and how he can be very self-critical?
Well, I think that's ultimately what you want is, whether the ball, you want your quarterback saying, hey, I could have given you a better ball, and if it was incomplete, hey, I need to catch that. You'd like that throughout your team, kind of taking some ownership and looking inward to where they could be, the reason why it's successful. The interesting thing about that throw is, if they were playing a zone, that would have been a thinner angle of a throw. But then they bring an all-out pressure, and you have more of the middle of the field to be able to bring him across into. So I understand where Kirk's coming from, but like you said, we did like the result.
Goes into obviously you guys trusted Addison with a lot of the stuff that Justin Jefferson does, but also trusting him on that throw and the trick play to Ty Chandler. Like, what goes into saying, okay, as a rookie, we're gonna give him a big load as receiver, but also trust him on that decision as well?
You see him throw the ball, and then we test these things out, and I've seen him throw before. We were told he throws it well enough. You give him a couple shots at it, it looks good, and you trust the player. You just feel like the game's not too big for him. And Monday Night Football, we just felt like he would perform well in all phases, and obviously dialed it up, believing that, and he really did make a nice throw because Bosa had quite a vertical leap on that play. So he kind of lofted it over, and unfortunately we got the penalty there. But yeah, we just trust him. We trust him to go out there, and the game's not too big for him. The moment's not too big for him, and he made a nice play.
Generally speaking, on plays like that, whether it's Justin or Jordan or any non-quarterback who's being asked to throw the ball and potentially make a decision, how much coaching do you do in terms of letting him know when not to throw it, or what to do if the throw is not there, or what have you?
Yeah, I think you really try to talk to them about, number one, we're trusting you with the ball, right? And then number two, just because we're calling this cool play and it's a trick play type deal, that it doesn't mean it has to be a big play. Just like the quarterback would do if he goes through a progression and everyone's covered and he throws it away, that's the right play to make in that situation. So sometimes, you get some kind of double pass or toss pass, all these types of things. They feel like it has to be a big play, but it's just another football play. And, if it's not there, we got to make good decisions, do the right thing.
I don't know if you had time to catch any of the Manning cast, but they liked that one. They liked the near miss to Addison in the end zone, and then they also liked the TJ, the 3rd and 12, where he chipped and then hit the seam, early in the game.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about the chipping with TJ and the fact that he's able to turn a chip into like a 15-yard play.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad the Mannings liked it. I did not see the Manning cast, but definitely respect their opinion on balls. So, yeah, that was just a play where, sometimes in those longer yardage situations, they're playing soft zones. You're sending guys vertical, and everyone gets so much depth. and it was just a little route where TJ's able to. Sometimes you're chipping and running to the flat, and it's just kind of harder to transition. But on that particular route, he's chipping and then he's moving towards the sticks. At the time he caught it, they get a ton of depth in their zone, and you know, I don't know if we felt like it would get 16 or 15, whatever it got there to convert, but yeah, it ended up being a nice one for us.
Wes, with the split the Madison and Akers got, is that kind of what you guys envision moving forward, or is that still evolving?
I think it's evolving, and I think you know, some of those were play specific, and including, you know, getting Ty in there as well, and letting him show some of the things that he's capable of. You know, depending on situations throughout the game, those things can always change, and you know, CJ's done a great job coming in and protecting on some snaps. I mean, he had one rep where, you know, Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the league, and he was one-on-one and did a great job picking him up in protection. So we've kind of found different roles for each guy, and you don't want to be too specific where one guy's coming in and this is all he does, because defenses will recognize that. But we feel like we're kind of figuring out how each guy can complement each other and our offense.
How much of what Kurt was handling pre-snap on Monday night is a byproduct of just the time he spent in the system so far?
I think it's a combination of his mastery of the system, the plan that we put together that he also has input in. You know, I've kind of talked about before, just someone who's played that long. It really is like having another coach, because he's watching tape and he's asking questions or suggesting things and saying, you know, hey, what about this look? Hey, would it be better to do this here? And a lot of times he's right, and he's got that experience and that wealth of knowledge. Really, the more eyes that are looking at the tape, no matter who it is, and bringing things up, it's a short week. It really is for us, as far as the amount of tape that you want to get through and watch, and anyone who can bring things up and potentially solve some problems before you get there is a big deal. And I thought his mastery of the plan, and really our offense's mastery of the plan, there were some details to a lot of the third down and red zone type plays that we had. You see some of the late movements and protection type things, and you know, I thought that was a big part of us winning that football game was our guys' ownership of it.
How did Dalton play, do you think?
I thought Dalton played really well. Love his energy out there. You know, he was a guy around the piles a lot, picking guys up. You can just kind of feel it, and then later on, kind of hearing about and seeing him after the game, and the emotion there just kind of shows you what it means to him and what it means to him to talking about his guys, his offensive linemen, playing with those guys, but also just being back in football, and you know, sometimes just being away even for a little bit, kind of realizing how much you miss it, how much you love this game. So he's a coach's son, and maybe forgot a little bit, but it was great to see him out there.
How much has Dalton's just, I guess, personality or demeanor helped him to fit in with the offensive line group pretty quickly? Obviously, coming in late and fitting in with them.
I think he's like I say, on the field, he's got that energy, but he has a very positive energy about him. You know, we had him on a visit some months ago, and you know, we spent about an hour with him, and when we were leaving, you know, he gave me a hug and said, "Hey, love you, man. You're my kind of guy," you know, and I said, "Yeah, you're my kind of guy, man. I like you too, man." So he just got that way about him, and very likable, very personable, outgoing, bright-eyed guy. So he's been fun to be around.
With how well the offensive line performed the other night, do you think it was just another game for them, or do you think they took pride in the fact that they were going up against what some say is the best front in the league.
I think they definitely took it as a challenge, but I will say I do think the pass protection, over the last several games has continued to grow and improve, and credit to the coaches, credit to those guys individually working, but we've had some good pockets. It's never 100% clean in this league, but we've had some really good pockets in pass protection. There is, an ownership, a buy-in to the system of pass protection, the calls being more comfortable as they've gone through, kind of help system type protection. So those guys have worked as a unit, when you're playing against great rushers. But to me, it's week to week. It's is this front one of the best in the league that we're playing? I mean, I look at Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary and Preston and, all these guys, they're really good. And I can show you some clips, right? And so there can't be a letdown. There can't be maybe they get up because it's Bosa and because it's the Niners and because they're penetrating front and all those types of things. But it's going to be just as big of a challenge this week.
Kirk was talking about Brandon Powell yesterday and how he's kind of able to separate against man. I guess what are some things that he does that allows him to have success there?
Plays really fast. I mean, he's a naturally quick athlete, but he plays really fast. He's one of the tougher humans, on our football team. All out, at all times. You just love a guy like that. He's prepared. He's a pro. Like everything about him, just is kind of set up for him to do what he did in the games. Not the biggest stature, but plays a lot bigger than he is. So, love to see him get involved and love to see him making those plays that he did.
Is that your first hug on a visit?
I mean, I've gotten kind of the one arm thing. I mean, that was an embrace from a big man. So it felt good. It felt good.
Is that part of evolving as a coach? The new from old at school to.
It may be, yeah. I don't know how many hugs I would have gotten 10 years ago. So.
Your family tree, that's an evolution. So.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I welcome them. The more hugs, the better. So.
Wes, do you have to do anything differently with the cleats this week? Is that a lesson learned from last year?
I certainly hope so. Yeah, it's I thought the guys were prepared in Chicago, just for the potential of that field. Sometimes the way it could be, there were a lot of 7 studs out there, guys testing it out. Don't think that's going to be an issue going forward.
Wes, you had Andrew Whitworth in LA, and obviously he was the premier left tackle, and now Darius. I guess, are there similarities between those guys, and I guess what's the value to an offense to have one of the truly best players at that position?
I mean, similarities in size and athleticism, those types of things, mindset, as far as, and really football intelligence, I think, is a big part. I think really maybe there's some just freaky pass rushers that really don't know the game real well, but they can let loose. But most of the great players that I've been around or that my dad coached, they're very football intelligent guys. There's an understanding of the game and how it works, and Christian certainly has that. Andrew Whitworth was one of the smarter players that I had been around. So I think in that way they're similar, and to have a guy where there are times where they set up, they overload fronts, they get a bunch of guys on one side, and then over here, and some guys you'd say, hey, we got to keep this guard here in case something happens, and some guys you feel comfortable like Christian and really Brian for that matter, but we can send the line that way and try to pick up these guys that are running all kinds of games and stunts on the other side. So to have that luxury to be able to activate different calls, knowing that we feel solid with that left side is really comforting.
Thanks, everyone. Well, Brian,
Thanks.